Okay, so I haven't done one of these in a while, but I suppose it's time that I start doing something for my new blog here, the Darling Panlix blog, which I'm assuming y'all know is, if y'all watch Once Upon a Time, which you should, because this is going to be tagged, um, and the Neverland story arc. But this is my AU fan fiction, which I'm quite proud of, but y'all haven't heard it because I'm too lazy to write fan fiction. That's why I do these videos. Yay! So it's gonna be like a vlog thing. Um, but I'm cool with that. Um, excuse the mask. I like wearing that mask. Anyway, though, so this storyline that I'm going to tell is basically my take on my version of things regarding Wendy, Felix, Pan, and John and Michael, even though I don't really dwell on them very much, but they're there, you know. So, basically, this starts, basically, in my story, Wendy is, I think it's, I mean, I try to gather as many details from the show as I possibly can to integrate into my story. I basically use the show for plot convenience and like to basically gather information to think up things for my story because I basically like which most fan fiction people do is like they're like nope, my story's the real story, and yeah. So my story's the real story, so deal with it. This is what really happens. So I mean, according to the show, I'm assuming sometime after Balefire left to go to, in place of the Darling Bros to go to Neverland. Wendy came after him. I don't know exactly what happened at that point because they never really explained it. Which hopefully, if we get a Neverland spinoff, they will. Um, and maybe we'll get some Darling Pan. Of course, in my story, it's more like Wendy and Felix are together, and Peter's kind of eh, he hits on her because he's like, I'm in charge, and he doesn't really care about anybody's feelings, really, so he's just like, hits on her occasionally, and Felix just goes along with it sometimes because, he can't do anything because Pan's in charge and Pan's powerful, and he's also loyal to Pan, so it's kind of like conflicting. But anyway, so Wendy didn't start out liking, the Lost Boys or anything, but Felix took a liking to her, and he was treating her well, and when she was in the cage, and he was bringing in her food, and then um she grew fond of them after a while, and Peter let her out of the cage, and she became like part of the gang, basically. Um, and she liked it. She was like kind of, you know, pretty much as loyal as Felix was, although he was there longer. So, you know, and the time when she was, sorry, I'm getting over something. When when she was locked in the cage when the Neverland Nevengers and Henry came into the picture, she was locked up in the cage. She wasn't really locked up in the cage. She was just kind of pretending, but not. She wasn't like doing it because he was forcing her to. She was like in on it, basically. Um, and also, my stories, my stories involve vampires a lot, so just bear with me because that's just how I roll. It's how I fill in plot conveniences, like make my characters turn into vampires. So basically, I think I had it so that it was because you know how Pan was trying to find a way to live forever, and uh, well, one of the things he experimented on involves some kind of potion thingy, which Wendy volunteered to be a guinea pig for, which ended up turning her into a vampire. Um, but he didn't take it right away because he was like, I'm not sure I want to use that one, but we'll keep it around for future reference. Um, but then they figured out how vampires are created aside from that potion thingy. So John and Michael became vampires, and because I figured in my mind that was a better explanation for how they've, you know, been alive in this world for all these years. Like, how else would they be, Um, that makes more sense in my mind than whatever the show had in mind. So I said that they were vampires all this time. Maybe Wendy turned them. I'm not sure. Um, oh, and by the way, my vampire references, that the kind of vampire I use for my stories is the kind that if you've all watched the Vampire Diaries, those kind of vampires. Whereas a vampire is created by, first you have to ingest the blood of a vampire, then you have to die, then when you wake up you have to feed within the next 24 hours or you will definitely die. And if you feed, that completes the transition and you're now a vampire. And the only way it can be killed is by a stake through the heart or being burned. Um, and I have sun rings for my characters, etc. That kind of stuff. Um, so, um, I guess that's pretty much the backstory, and I'll be making more videos about how the story progresses, and I'll be also adding photo edits, because that's what I mainly do to illustrate my stories. I make photo edits. Um, so, so yeah, I will continue the rest of the story, and you can keep checking out the videos. Um, Alright then, see y'all next time.